Welcome, Charles Thomas of the Duke CT Lounge here to Rowdy Live, our normal guy that we talk to and discuss topics like wrestling and WWE. And as we said, tonight is WWE Fastlane, the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, which I myself have said is a bit of a, probably is overkill that they have two pay-per-views between the Rumble and WrestleMania. And I think it has the reason they've been stalling on these storylines, because they'd have had 6 weeks since Elimination Chamber to build up WrestleMania, but they've also got to sell this other pay-per-view now. And that's why I think they've had to drag these things out probably more than they needed to be.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
You have a lot of the wrestling, these pay-per-views and such. It used to be an issue back in the day because you had No Way Out. You got what type of pay-per-view that was happening during that time. But again, this is the problem with these networks. You have to justify its existence sometimes. We have to do a network special. We have to do a network special every month just to see it's there or something. Personally, I honestly think you don't need to do these network specials every month to do that stuff. You can do other things. I mean, personally, I think they should do more in-depth documentaries, stuff like that with Roman Reigns the other night. I think that looks really good. I think they should do more of that instead of these live pro wrestling stuff like that. Maybe stuff they taped earlier or something. That'd be really that'd be good too. But I don't think WWE should be doing this because it just forces the stuff. Because we know Becky is going to win the match.
Yeah.
We know
we'll
that.
Yeah.
But
Basically that's what I was about to get into. Of course, the big thing that I've really had to drag out is the build-up to what I said is going to obviously be a triple threat match at WrestleMania between Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship. And let's keep this in mind. This is just the sweet irony of the whole situation, that one of the whole reasons they're having to do this is because the only person in WWE Creative who has been absolutely insistent that Becky Lynch get added to what for months had been building up to straight up Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte has been Vince McMahon. The one guy everybody on the internet wrestling site hates and says he's past his prime, he's the one ruining WWE storylines. He's the one reason Becky Lynch is getting the main event spot that all these people online want. But basically, yeah. So the main thing is to try to set up what exactly happened. Like I said, Becky Lynch won the Royal Rumble, inserting herself into the Royal Rumble that she wasn't supposed to be in because she had a title match against Asuka that same night and lost it cleanly. But she gets
by submission.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. I'll get to that in a moment when I set up everything here. Is that so? She inserts herself into the Royal Rumble despite not supposed to be in there, wins it, injures herself during the match. Because of that, she spent these last few weeks with people like Triple H and Vince McMahon on camera questioning her health, questioning whether or not she could be on there because of her attitude and attacking everyone in sight because she's becoming totally petulant, in my opinion, through the whole thing. They end up suspending her for 60 days. But this past week on Raw, Stephanie McMahon lifts the suspension, says that Becky will face Charlotte tonight at Fastlane. Becky wins, she gets added to the match. Now, I don't remember exactly if, is it for winner, are the exact stipulations winner gets the spot at WrestleMania, or is it Becky Lynch gets added if she wins? Is anything on the line technically for Charlotte in this match?
Not really, and there's no consequence.
Okay, then obviously the situation is Becky is clearly going to win this match. If it was winner takes all, it was obviously going to be a disqualification, double DQ, something involving Ronda, in which it would be real that both would face her in the end. But that's pretty much the whole thing. And that's the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the fact that everyone online is saying this makes no sense, that Becky is having to compete for a spot at WrestleMania that she earned and Charlotte just had handed to her. But that clearly ignores the fact that, like I said, Becky wasn't supposed to get this opportunity anyway because she wasn't supposed to be in the Royal Rumble. It's selective remembrance almost to say
selective hearing in aspects, but yeah, my funny thing is, and I feel honestly the one who got the shaft is Asuka in all of this. She beat Becky Lynch clean, and yes, she's gonna be in in a match with supposedly rumor had it Lacey Evans, which no offense to her, I'm like, really? That's it? I mean, shouldn't honestly Asuka should be walking down the ring, when Becky Lynch and she should be into this stuff because hey, I beat the man, I beat everybody. I should be the one being focused on WrestleMania. That should be the storyline there. Why not put Asuka in this? Why make it a fatal 4-way?
That's a very good point. And if anything, I would say if anyone probably because of this, one, would need a character refreshment and would be in the good position for a heel turn after frustration, it would probably be Asuka. This is prime situation where she should have the frustration that, everyone's saying Becky Lynch was deserving of turning into this uber psycho bitch, for lack of better terms. You don't like the way I like her calling me that, deal with it. But she was saying she was justified in that because she kept getting screwed out of opportunity after opportunity, but that's just behind the scenes. Because in storyline, I pointed this out, almost every title match Becky Lynch has lost in her career, she's either lost cleanly, or it was in an every no-holds-barred, anything-goes match anyway. As such with the, I think it was, the cage match she lost to Alexa Bliss a couple of years back, and then the triple threat ladder match at TLC this past December. Becky, in character, has never been screwed over in any of her title matches from the storyline, but meanwhile, like you said, you've got Asuka, who has won, beaten just at least probably since late last year, has beaten all comers, has remained SmackDown Women's Champion, and she's basically like Rodney Dangerfield, getting no respect. If anyone has a right to be frustrated there, in my perspective, you're probably right, it would be her. But
exactly.
But getting back to heel turns, that brings up the other big situation that's been going on, and especially been exploding the last couple of weeks over Twitter and social media, particularly concerning Ronda Rousey. Now, it started up last week, and I'd hoped I'd been able to talk about this, but the fact that I was out of town prevented us from doing so. It started when Ronda and Becky just engaged in this very vocal and vicious war over Twitter that basically ended with Ronda calling Becky by her real name and threatening to hunt her down and beat the crap out of her. And now, the last couple of more recent days, you've basically got Ronda on her own video podcast pretty much taking a sledgehammer to what little remains of kayfabe completely, and the internet is losing its shit about it. No, so my apologies for my language but no other way to say it. And just the one thing I can't help but say through all of this is, am I the crazy one to look at all of this and say that this is one of the biggest work shoots ever, that Ronda knows exactly what she has been doing throughout all of this?
Oh yeah, I think she knows what this whole thing is. I think a lot of people need to calm down. I sit back, I think maybe she does, maybe she don't, you don't know. But it's funny. It's funny, a lot of people do it, and Ronda, people say Ronda has a history of this stuff. I'm like, yeah, she does, but again, this is, you gotta look into what this thing is, try to get the people talking about. And then again, Ronda was a bit upstaged this weekend because Meltzer said something stupid.
Oh, we might talk about that in a moment. Yeah, perhaps. But that's a whole different can of worms right there. But but the one thing I think about is, can't you take into the consideration that the people behind the scenes at WWE, they know about Ronda's history as a pro athlete. And the fact that some of her losses in UFC, she didn't take very well. And maybe they would think that, okay, people know she has this history, let's play that up. this is a very unique situation in which they've got someone who had achieved fame and notoriety through other forms of professional athletics in her career, and the fact that because that she's built up as being you have a certain someone who more or less has to put more of her real life persona into her wrestling gimmick, more probably than anyone else in a long time, if ever. That you can do something like that and say, okay, she's done that stuff in the past. Let's make this part of her character. Like, just the idea that it just seems to me that to automatically assume this is just her going off the rails is really jumping to the conclusions from people that they're looking for a reason to trash anything she does. And look, there are yes, I know certain things about her past that a lot of certain people don't like from her personally. I have my own thoughts about that, but I try at least to understand why people would take umbrage with certain things she said before. That's one thing. But then to just, because you've got that type of negative bias, that you can't look at everything objectively and have to automatically assume everything she does, she's screwing up with something. That's why I think you're a little bit biased in your opinion, the views you're developing through all of this.
Well, yeah, it's it is. It's all this other stuff is coming around with Ronda and all this stuff, but it is interesting how people do it, and it's funny how all this stuff around Charlotte's right there, just sitting down, just chilling.
Oh yeah,
and just doing all this stuff. And remember, everybody hates. Like everyone hates Charlotte, but now everyone's like going back, like, wow, we might actually, people start, start like, wow, we actually start liking, Charlotte again.
Oh, believe me, trust me. Like that's what I was saying throughout all of this is that regardless of whether it's worked or a shoot or not, when Becky and Ronda were just acting like angry school children on a playground, just yelling at each other back and forth, and I'm just seeing Charlotte not respond to anything to that. I was thinking, she's the only person coming off good in this whole situation right now. And it's just making me want to see. I know that it's a long shot if there ever was one, but it's making me want to see Charlotte win this match more than ever before, just to stick it to all these people who they assault Ronda for everything she says. But when Becky pretty much does the same thing as, oh yeah, she's being a total badass. She's not sticking it to the status quo. She's not tolerating any BS from authority. But it's the same damn thing that Ronda's doing when you really get from an objective standpoint. And like I said, all Charlotte is doing is practically sitting back and saying, it's almost like she's acting, yeah, you go ahead and trade verbal barbs on Twitter. I'm going to be ready for both of you come WrestleMania when it counts. It's almost like that's the situation. And from a character perspective, it's making me respect her just more and more than ever before. And making me want to see her win.
Exactly. Personally, I think Becky is going to win, and all of this stuff is going to, people like Becky's going to be going, but yet I keep looking at, everyone who says Becky's going to be this huge draw, and I keep showing these pictures, and I will show you a link to all these pictures and everything else that, no one shows up. I'm like, why is no one showing up? Because Becky's the man and everything. I'm like, I like Becky Lynch too, but people just keep overrating this stuff. It just gets a little bit draining, and I worry is that this energy and such is just going to start tapering off more often to a point people just going to be like, it's going to hurt Becky and other women on the roster and such. Are they like, is this going to be a fad, or just going to be like, okay, we don't want to try this again because of all this craziness and drama and all this other like BS that at the end of the day, it was just, it was done. Bam, it's over.
It's a case of really what I would call the vocal minority, almost. That everyone online is trying to say that Becky Lynch has become one of the most popular superstars in ever, and now that since they've swapped writing teams, SmackDown is so much more superior to Raw. But yeah, you look at those, like I said, the photographic evidence you've dug up, it's still not showing, at least as far as the attendance numbers go. And I'm not saying the attendance numbers are terrible. We're not talking WCW 2000 level here or anything. But yeah, they've still got a lot of empty seats on the behind camera side, whatever that term is used. And nowadays, I don't know all those terms.
Soft cam, hard cam, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly my point there. But like I said, I don't like to say bad things about Becky Lynch. Like I said, someone posted on Twitter, like, who's the nicest celebrity you probably ever meet? I got to meet Becky a little more than 2 years ago at Wizard World Austin. Absolute sweetheart of a girl. Actually had the insanity to say this ugly mug was gorgeous there.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? You know what? I'm actually going on the Friggin' Austin Network forum and such. Really cool place, even though they let me post my videos there. That's not a plug. Oh, wait, it is. But yeah, they actually, in this forum, it says, I don't get Becky. Explain it to me. And it's something that they actually nailed this right here. Is that it reminds them so much of Conor McGregor. It's like that type of this arrogance and walking around strutting and that type of stuff, that type of and that probably is pissing people off. Like it's just here, like that type of arrogance, and then more often than not, when he loses and everything else, and he still goes out there strutting and throwing trying to end people's UFC careers legitimately and breaking windows and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's that type of that type of something like that. You're just like, Becky hasn't done that, like nothing like Conor McGregor, but you just see that type of arrogance. You're just like, I can't deal with this anymore.
Exactly.
You're
that's
just
the
like,
whole thing. And that's the really frustrating thing when I talk about the hypocrisy of this all, is that they'll cheer a character in WWE like Becky Lynch or Stone Cold Steve Austin doing stuff like that on camera, and then they'll turn around, almost the exact same type of people will criticize the Conor McGregors or the Ronda Rouseys for the stuff they do in real life. And it's like, what do you expect to happen? I loved Becky Lynch when she was this smiling, goofy, dorky, steampunk swearing nutball that went out there and was still able to kick ass. And I wanted that Becky Lynch to overcome the odds and become champion again. And for her basically to have to turn her into a female Stone Cold who betrayed her best friend, which for me personally is a very moral line of crossing that really hurts me personally, has since gone on to just not give a crap about any rules or laws whatsoever, seems to get personal pleasure out of intentionally hurting people, and yet just being like trying to bring back some of the worst aspects of the Attitude Era outside of the extreme sexuality, which would hold the matter all together. But just, I didn't want this type of character for her to have to become in order to become a huge draw, and the fact that so many fans seem to like it because she's become this horrible individual. And then try to claim, how can people like Conor McGregor exist? It's really frustrating for me on a societal level.
Oh yeah, it's but what less of someone like, say, Bailey, who is something positive and such, which people say, oh, we need more of that, but yet they go and cheer the Conor McGregors or the people the facsimile of, like Becky Lynch. I'm like, wait, you don't like the toxicity and stuff, but you're cheering for that stuff. You're going after people who are actually overtly negative and arrogant as hell and such. And you're surprised people, will be like, well, this is the only way to get attention. I'll go this way. No, it's, if you have these things, you have to, to continue to walk and be, people hate it seems like the overly positive stuff people just don't like. It's like they just want to have that type of negative stuff, which, we talked about earlier, during the Duke Seaton Lounge, and this stuff about, Game of Thrones, or, all these other, like, the bad guys continue to win. It gets to a point when you just see, movies like, say, even though I like it, Batman v Superman, having these two iconic heroic characters acting, well, some people's opinion and such, way out of character, acting so dowy and grim, gritty, these type of things, and people don't like that. I'm like, well, you're cheering for this. You want stuff like this. You want things that are morally gray and such like that. And when you have heroes that are not morally gray, who are trying to be morally gray, and you boo them, it's like it gets a conflicting message. And that's one of the things that people, just that hypocrisy and such that you talked about, and I've talked about this as well. It is something a bit frustrating, and yeah, it is. It's that's the thing that people will just need to, you know, take a look within themselves and such.
And let's you talk about I said you would talk about negative people in professional wrestling. Yeah, you brought this up earlier. Can Dave Meltzer have any type of legitimacy whatsoever anymore now?
Oh no, no, no,
I
no.
mean, that's
I stopped listening to him after like a couple years ago. And I'm like, yeah, when he let me just see if I can find the tweet and such. I think that if I can find it, that when he I think when he openly said the marks are pretty much the same word as the N word, which is like, wow, that is to me. How could you miss so much at the point? They say that they're pretty much the same. Yes, because calling someone a mark is, same way as basically complaining about people and just developing an entire group of people over years and years of slavery and all that type of stuff. They're the same, right? Oh wait, no,
yeah,
they're not. Ugh.
yeah. The guy has not had. People actually think this guy still has enough sources that he can get anything right with his predictions. This is a guy who said that the Hardys were going to stay in NJPW the day before they made their return appearance at WrestleMania, last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that should have been one would think that would be the moment people realized just this guy is just pulling things out of his butt now, and it's so obviously he's in desperation mode. Like, this guy is trying anything to possibly remain relevant in the wrestling world. And I'm the type of guy, I don't really, and what, it's the fact that, first off, the guy is basically responsible for why there are so many damn dirt sheets on the internet anyway, and what drives me crazy is everyone reads and shares these dirt sheets and then goes and complains that a Ronda Rousey would go and expose the business on her, not even on WWE television, but on our own personal vlog. Is that like you said, I don't want to say, I'm not the type of guy who would say wrestling was better off when kayfabe existed. That's a whole other situation. But I am thinking that it was so much better when we weren't trying to directly find out everything that was going on behind the scenes. And then wondering why WWE or Impact or whoever it may be thinks they need to cater to that type of information now. We've set up the problem ourselves in a way.
Oh yeah, and it is the thing. Dave Meltzer, the one thing he has is that he is a wrestling encyclopedia. He has all these names and dates, and that's fine. If you want history, that's fine. But if you're basically trying to throw these type of stuff in more often than not, man, look, I always just sit back and look into what storylines, what these things are, not just on the show, but where the characters and what the stuff is like they're hinting towards and such. That's what it's all do. Not just you look at where the things are, you build how the way these things are, which is how to build how to build storylines and such. And like if Dave Meltzer just kept to the history thing, I think people will mind him like that. But once he goes to that rumors, and then when years and years, the years and years and such about him being wrong and such, and not only that, but all the stuff recently about Roman Reigns and everything else. It got to a point when if didn't one of the I think Leukemia Care actually tweeted him about this and talked about all of this stuff about cancer and leukemia and all of that type of stuff. Yeah, I think you retweeted that as well. Talked about how leukemia and cancer work. It's like, oh, it's not like, because once again we're talking about like Roman Reigns and such like that. I'm like, leukemia doesn't work what the way Hollywood tells it is. So cancer is not like, okay, they go to chemo, they go do all this type of stuff. There are other things that, when you do have cancer, do all these type of things, that there are other treatments and such. And if
At
you
the very
catch it
least,
early enough.
especially at the very least, I think people realize just how much development for treatment of cancer and leukemia have advanced in the last several years. It's not like what happened to Linus's friend in Why Charlie Brown Why isn't the only option anymore, basically. If you guys happen to watch that review of mine.
Oh yeah, it's there. I mean, there's other, it's cancer has, there's treatments for it for like, many other places. I looked at stuff up, and you had to realize that, do a little research out there. And it is actually, if it's there and it's research about these situations and such, about leukemia, the care and cancer and such, which, I mean, when you look at the stuff right now and seeing how much misinformation out there, and the information is there, and people seem to just forget about that, people they don't really know about these information. It's frustrating and sad that, that people are sitting there and just like, oh man, they have this weird hatred for Roman Reigns and such. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, if you hate Roman that much, don't watch the show. Don't go to the damn show, man. Don't watch the show. Don't watch WWE Network. Watch other places, I mean, at what point you realized they were going to put Roman as a pillar of the being the main guy? So yeah, WWE has fumbled the ball a bit, but now, I hope that with this new direction of Roman Reigns, which he's talking about, which there are other things with his coming back and him talking about, surviving cancer. Not only that, but maybe he's thinking about, back in the locker room, people missed his presence because he's a really good locker room leader. Hell, he's even talking about something that I have been, talking about way back in the days of YouTube. If you look at my old YouTube videos, YWC videos, talking about his off season, and I'm like, we can talk about that all day long, but it's to me amazing how people want to just slight and hate on this dude because he's not does 6-star matches or whatever. Man might be, at the end of the day, might be the most positive and most positive force WWE can have in years, or decades and such. And I'm like, y'all still bad about him not doing great matches and such. And I'm like, or a bad promo or whatever.
They won't give a lot of credit to the really good human beings like Roman Reigns and John Cena, and then they turn around and wonder how supposedly people with attitude problems like Ronda Rousey can make it. It's like, it really is a situation of, you have to ask, what exactly do they want? Actually, it's not that case. It's like they demand so much perfection that they expect professional wrestlers to be the type of people who could put on 5-6-star matches, be an absolute brooding asshole badass on the mic as a character, but are also still expected to be such absolute perfect angels outside the ring. And all you're going to get is disappointment if you're going to be demanding that type of perfection among each and every human being out there.